before most of us had even heard of the coronavirus, a small local company made a big bet. And now it's paying off in spades. On the front page centerpiece this week, the little lab that could. Gravity Diagnostics started 4 years ago, largely testing what medications work best in your body. Well, in January, thousands of miles away from the virus, which was largely confined then to parts of China, a scientist in the Covington lab saw an opportunity to develop a way to test for it. And now the company provides tests to hundreds of organizations around the country and analyzes tens of thousands of them a day. They know behind every test kit that comes through their doors, there's a story.
We had one story where a mother gave birth and she was not able to see her baby until she got a result back, and because we had fast turnaround time, she was able to see her child sooner.
Gravity's president says the goal all along was to make an impact and do something to try to save the world. It's safe to say that's certainly happening. So what's next? For that, we turn to Courier editor Rob Dahmeyer and reporter Liz Engel.
Liz, thanks so much for being here.
Hi.
So why did you decide to write about Gravity Diagnostics in the first place? We do a lot of stories on growing companies at the Courier, but we have to pick and choose who we write about. Why Gravity?
Well, I think it's a great, fantastic growth story. The company's been around locally since 2016, but a lot of people didn't know about them. And they weren't doing any kind of COVID testing until January or February, when they decided to jump into this market. And since then, their growth has hockey sticked, which is probably one of my favorite words I've ever used in a story recently.
Well, yeah. What does that growth look like? Like, where were they a couple years ago? Where are they now?
I think they had about 30 employees when this all started. They now have 300. So talk about onboarding that many people is just a task in its own right. They've grown out of space. So I think they've increased square footage by like 900%.
Wow.
And then revenue has followed. I think they were a $5 million company last year, and they are about 87 million to date this year. And that number will exponentially increase because testing has also increased.
So we know why they're growing. They're growing because we have this horrible virus and they're involved in that. But could you be a little more specific? Tell the viewers what exactly they do and why it's working.
Yeah, so they receive tests, shipments of tests from hospitals, nursing homes, and they process those tests. It's a multi-system process, and they have lots of scientists and PhDs that work on that initiative, but they had to invest heavily in equipment to be able to do that. And then they, of course, needed all these people to be able to manage the numbers of tests that they're receiving. I think they were testing maybe 20 samples a day in March, and they're up to almost 20,000 a day now.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Is this growth sustainable? You said it was a hockey stick, and hockey sticks you don't go up forever. But when you talk to the company, how did they feel like? Is this something that they could continue into next year?
Yeah, I mean, of course, the company leadership is going to say that they can sustain this, and of course, that will be interesting to watch and interesting to see how that goes. There's a lot of different areas they can go. They've built a lot of new relationships with customers. They're working with University of Cincinnati that eventually could lead to new business, and they could grow organically. They could acquire other labs. So there's a lot of different ways they could sustain the growth. But I think that will be the most interesting piece of this to watch.
And speaking of what to watch, what should we be on the lookout for them for next year specifically? Is this a company that's looking for more funding? Are they looking to possibly go public?
Yeah, their leaders are really, really bullish on going public. That's the next step. They're kind of gearing up for that. The biggest question is, what kind of value will that be for investors? That had such big growth, and if they can sustain that, yeah, it'll be a big home run for the region.
Yeah. Well, it's a great story you wrote. I recommend everybody grab it when you get the paper or read us online. It's just a really good, in-depth, fun read about a company in Covington. It's called, the headline's The Little Lab That Could, just to give you an idea of what it's about. Liz, you did a great job on it. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much.
All right.